Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Janakalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidaram. Okay, wonderful. So let's all start chanting verses 24 and 25 of Bhaja Govindam. We'll just recap what we've done last time and then we'll move forward. And if you can turn your video on, that would be very helpful. Thank you. Dvaimai chanyatraiko Vishnu Vyartham kupyasi maya sahishnu Bhava samachittah sarvatra tvam Vanchasya chiratyadi Vishnu tvam Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate Shatrau mitre putre bandhau ma kuru yatnam vigraha sandhau sarvasminnapi pashyatmanam sarvatrotsrija bheda jnanam bhaja govindam govindam bhaja mudhamate. So last week, we saw two really beautiful verses. And the first one we saw was about how we're all one. It says, Tvai mai cha anya traiko Vishnu. Tvai mai cha anyatra ekaha Vishnu. In you, in me, there is that same God. There's that same divinity. Vyaratham kupyasi mai sahishnu. And the teacher says, why are you getting angry with me? Why are you being impatient with me? Because the teacher keeps repeating the same truth. In you and me, there is one divinity. But why does the teacher keep repeating it? Because we're not getting it. It's not sinking in. And so the teacher says this, he gives this one instruction. He says, Bhava samachittaha. Be equanimous. Sarvatra, everywhere, be equanimous. And then, vanchasi achirat yadi vishnutva. If you want that status of divinity, if you want to realize your divinity soon, the best way to do it is to be equipoise. And we saw last time the various ways of staying balanced and steady amidst all circumstances. What's the easiest way to stay balanced? And why is it that we move? Why is it that we go up and down? We go up and down because we don't have a solid foundation. Only people rock when their base isn't steady. So the first question we have to ask ourselves is, what is our base? What is the base from which we interact with people all around us? And the base can be several. If we talk about Jnana Yoga, the base of our foundation, our rock, can be that this world is in me. It is an appearance in me. Everything is appearing in me like a dream, which we saw in one of the previous verses. That is one foundation we can have. That foundation is not always easy. So the second foundation maybe we can have in terms of the marga of bhakti is the name of God or the name of Guru. When one is just constantly, their mind is constantly in the name of God or in the name of Guru, they cannot swerve, they cannot shake, they cannot move. And even the most trying and testing circumstances can come to them, and they won't, they'll be unshaken by it, unmoved by it. And we see this in the life of Mirabai, right? In Mirabai's life, her mind was just merged into Sri Krishna, just merged into Sri Krishna. And she was tested and tried so many times. She was brought a cobra. She was brought a cobra to her. But this cobra appeared to her as an image of God. She was given poison, but when she drank that poison, it became nectar. It was nectar of immortality for her. So all of these trying things that happened to her life, she didn't even really notice it. She didn't even pay attention to it, because in her mind, the name of God was there, and the name of God alone. So for some people, that foundation for equanimity or balance can be God's name or the name of the Guru. With that, everything can be faced. In the path of Karma Yoga, what is that foundation? Let's say the path of Jnana Yoga, having my foundation as that I am that one awareness and consciousness. I am the witness of everything, and everything appears in me. This one, let's say that doesn't sort of relate to me. And then the name of God or the name of Guru, with that, I can cross through anything. What if that doesn't relate to me? What happens? What do I do? So some people then have their foundation in that Karma Yoga, which is when they have such a great ideal, like freedom fighters, right? Now, maybe they're not necessarily thinking about Brahman, they're not necessarily thinking about God, but they're thinking about their country. They're thinking about their country. And that in itself, they're able to give everything up. They're able to be undisturbed about anything because their country means so much to them that they'll do whatever it takes. They'll pass through whatever it takes just for their country to shine forth. It could be for a country, it could be for environmentalism, it could be for protecting children, protecting animals, whatever it is. But when one has these foundations, they won't shake. The reason we're shaking in life is because we don't have that foundation. And so here he says, find that foundation. In verse 24, find that foundation. Find that thing that's going to keep me rock solid, because life is not easy. We know life is compared to samsara. It's waves of ups and downs. It's not going to be easy all the time. We are going to have some calm, peaceful moments, yes. But again, we're going to be taken up and down. So bhava samachitta sarivatra. And not only in one place, all places, in all times. Vanchasi, if you want that Vishnutva, if you want to realize divinity, cultivate this equanimity. So we saw that in verse 24. Then in verse 25, it said something so beautiful now. Verse 25 really tells us that in this path, we have to walk alone. It says, Shatro mitre putre bandho ma kuru yatnam vigraha santho. What does this mean? Sometimes we spend so much time in our life in making and breaking relationships. Life becomes all about social status. Who am I roaming with? Whose party am I invited to? Where are we going on vacation? With who are we spending time with? And it just then becomes all about making friendships, keeping in touch, some friendships are also broken. And so many times there's so much effort in this. And I'm not saying that all of them are superficial, but in our lives, a lot of them tend to be superficial, right? We can count the number of true friends that we have probably in our hands, but a lot of them can be superficial relationships, just keeping in touch for the sake of keeping in touch. And what Adi Shankaracharya ji is saying here is that don't waste your time in all of that. If it's not a meaningful relationship, Why unnecessarily are we going to focus on making these relationships and breaking these relationships, making and breaking, if there's no meaning to it? So he says, don't waste your time in any of that. And, and in reality, who is a friend? Who is an enemy? Everyone is that one being. Everyone is that one divinity. But how do we practically apply this? So we said in the last class that who is your best friend and who's your worst enemy? In reality, it's our own mind. In reality, in the path of spirituality, we have to walk alone. So instead of focusing so much on making these tight friendships and tight relationships, the first thing that a seeker has to do is cultivate that relationship with our own mind. How am I dealing with my own mind? Because my mind is there with me 24/7. It's there with me all the time. And if I'm not able to befriend that mind, then it doesn't matter where I am or who I'm with, I'm always going to be struck with disturbance or unevenness. But if I'm able to befriend that mind, then I'll be fine wherever I go. And when one is able to befriend their mind, then all friends come rushing to them because their personality becomes so divine and so fragrant that everyone just comes to them automatically. We don't even have to go seek companionship or go seek friendship. Many times, people ask me nowadays, how do we find a partner? And the first question I asked was, okay, you really want to find a partner? If you want to find a partner, first, deal with your own mind. Deal with your own mind. Because if we can't deal with our own mind, how are we going to deal with someone else's mind? We won't be able to do it. So here he says, at the end of the day, we all have to walk alone. Don't waste time in these superficial relationships. Cultivate the deepest relationship with your own mind. And then the most meaningful relationships will happen in our lives. And even those seeming other relationships will become much deeper when we are able to cultivate a friendship with our mind. So that's what we saw last time. Now we will move on today to verse 26. So I will chant and then you can chant after me. Okay? So Kamam, Krodham, Lobham, Moham.
Kamam, Krodham, Lobham, Moham.
Tyaktvatmanam pashyati soham.
Tyaktvatmanam pashyati soham.
Atmajnana vihina mudha.
Atmajnana vihina mudha.
Te pachyante narakani gudha.
Te pachyante narakani gudha.
Kamam, Krodham, Lobham, Moham. Tyaktvatmanam pashyati soham. Atma jnana vihina mudha. Te pachyante narakani gudha. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Govindam bhaja mudhamate. So here in the previous verses, Adi Shankaracharya has been telling us, realize the divinity within you and see that oneness with others. See that you, the essence of you and the essence of everybody else is the same. And so the question can come, why am I not seeing it? Why am I not seeing this divinity in me? Why am I not seeing it in everybody else? And his answer is because we haven't faced the 6 gangsters. So verse 26 is about facing the 6 gangsters. Who are these 6 gangsters? There are 6 vices that we have. Starting from kama. Kama means desire. Krodha. Krodha means anger. Lobha, greed. Moha, delusion. And then the other ones are mada, pride. Matsarya, jealousy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then we have 6 there. Tyaktva means having left all of these vices, these 6 gangsters, we call them. Pashyati atmanam soham. The seeker sees that I am truly that. I am that pure awareness. Atma jnana vihina buddhaha. The fools, they are fools who have no knowledge of the self. Te pachyante, and they are cooked. They are cooked. Naraka nigudaha. They are cooked in hell, in a hellish state, like captives. Therefore, seek Govindam. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Budamate. Leaving aside desire, anger, greed, and delusion, the seeker sees in the self, he am I. They are fools who have no self-knowledge, and they, as captives in hell, are tortured. So what does this mean? So think about our minds now. What are we facing here? There's a gang, and in the gang, there's 6 of them. The ringleader is called Kama. Kama means selfish desire. Selfish desire. This is the starting point of our fall. If we want to know why our minds are blurry, why are they agitated, why are they shaky, why are they blocked, it's because of this selfish desire. There is no other reason for it. What does selfish desire presuppose? It presupposes that I don't know who I am. I am ignorant of who I am. I am ignorant of my awareness, my consciousness, my nature as awareness and consciousness. And therefore, I think I am a limited body, mind, and intellect. And because I'm a limited body, I desire things for my body. And because I'm a limited mind, I desire things for that limited mind. Because I'm a little limited intellect, I desire things for my intellect. So I have forgotten that I am infinite, I am unlimited, I am pure awareness. I have forgotten this. And I now think that I'm this limited being, limited individual. And obviously, whenever we feel limited, there's a desire to be unlimited because that's our nature. Our nature is unlimited. And that's why we always desire to expand. We have wealth, we want to expand, 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 expand so much. We have intelligence, we want to expand, expand, expand so much. Our desires, natures are always that we want to expand everything. We want to stretch it out for as long as we want because we want to go back. We're trying to become infinite. And this is our biggest mistake. Our biggest mistake is we're expanding all of these things, trying to become infinite when we already are infinite. We don't have to become it. We already are infinite. And so in this chase of trying to expand my pleasures, my wealth, my intelligence, my lineage, anything that in all of these pursuits to expand myself, I forget my real nature. This is what selfish desire presupposes. Selfish desire also presupposes that there is a world out there and it's very real and it can give me happiness. So now I think that there is a world that's separate from me. Not that there's a world in me. I'm consciousness and the world appears in me, but selfish desire presupposes there's a world separate from me and it can give me happiness and it can make me happy. Therefore, let me run after that object and let me get it. This is called selfish desire. I want that object because I am incomplete. And when I get that object, I will become complete and I will become happy. Object, person, experience, etc. I will become happy. But we all know that's a lie because we might feel a kick of pleasure, but after that, again, we're empty, again, we're sad. So this is this desire. This is what selfish desire does. Right? This is I'm pursuing this for my own ego, to fatten up my own ego. And whenever we have this desire, we cannot sit. Whenever it's a selfish desire, again, I'm not talking about the desire for satsang or the desire for God or the desire to realize the truth. Those are all great desires because those desires get us out of all desires. Those desires make us desireless, and therefore they are divine desires. So our scriptures do not, criticize desires per se. They're only saying, look at the direction of the desire. Is my direction or my desire towards the divine, or is it towards the world? That's it. It can just go two ways. Now, if the desire is towards the world, what happens? It can take two routes. Two routes. What are these two routes? Let's say the desire is fulfilled. Let's say I got what I wanted. What happens then? The next gangster comes. The first one was kama, selfish desire. The next gangster is greed, lobha. I got what I wanted. I'm not satisfied. I want more. I want more. So somebody who has power, they get power. They're not satisfied. They want more. Some person who has, even when we eat, we're served a meal, we're not satisfied, we want more, right? Even if we know it's enough, yet we want more. So when our desire is fulfilled, it turns into greed. A lot of times it turns into greed. We don't stop there. We want more and more and more of it. And desires don't stop then. And what happens when we get a lot of what we desire? It's not going to stop there. We meet the third gangster. Who's the third gangster? Pride. The third gangster is pride, or what we call mada. We become proud that, hey, we acquired all of this. We gained all of this. And we feel so incredibly superior to other people. I am so good, but look at these other people. What have they done? That's called pride. And so automatically, all these three things will come. In some way or some shape or form, they will come. Okay, now we look at desire, selfish desire, in another track. What if I did not get what I want? Which is very possible because there's limited supply and there's lots of demand. There's enough for our need, but not enough for our greed. So what if I don't get what I want? What's going to happen? Then we meet the next gangster, which is called krodha, or anger. We get angry. Anger is nothing but an obstacle between me and my desired object, experience, person. So whenever something comes in between me and what I desire, what do? I feel anger. I am angry at that thing or that person or that circumstance. I become incredibly angry. And this anger is proportionate to the desire. So if my desire was quite small, my anger will also be quite small. But if my desire was so strong, my anger will also be so incredibly strong. So the proportion of my desire, that much my anger. So if I have anger, what is the seed of it? It's because there's some selfish desire there. That's the reason we're angry. That's a real reason. And will it stop there? It won't stop there because inevitably I didn't get it. I didn't get what I wanted. So what does that mean? Somebody else got it. Someone else got what I wanted. Then we meet the next gangster. Who is that? Matsarya, jealousy. We meet jealousy because I didn't get it, you got it. Now I am incredibly jealous of you. How could you have gotten it? And so this emotion builds up, this negative emotion towards the other person. And thus, all of this happens when there's selfish desire. So selfish desire fulfilled. What happens? We meet greed and we meet pride. They will come. Selfish desire not fulfilled. We will meet anger and we will meet jealousy. They will come. Now the question is, what about this delusion, moha? This delusion will come every step of the way. Every step of the way, this gangster delusion will come. This is the one that goes in every nook and cranny. How when we have a selfish desire, that itself is a delusion, right? We explain that that itself is a delusion. That itself, in that very desire, I have forgotten that I am infinite, and I have forgotten that the world is an appearance in me. I have taken myself now to be limited. I have taken the world to be real. I have taken the world to be a source of happiness. There, we're deluded. When the desire is fulfilled and it turns into greed, there we're also deluded. Because in greed, we don't know when to stop. It's like somebody in a slot machine, right? They cannot, there's no control. They cannot stop. If they win the first time, especially, they keep going and going and going and going. We lose all sense of when to stop. It could be even something as eating or something as drinking. They lose all control of when to stop. So again, there we're deluded. And then in pride, when we think that we are all so superior to other people, again, we're deluded. We're deluded because we think that we've gained whatever we've gained by our own effort. We've forgotten all of the people who are involved as part of that effort, the greater team that puts everything together. We forgot about that. And we forgot about that invisible hand of grace of God and Guru. So again, in that, we're deluded. Now, if that desire, if it didn't get fulfilled, in that anger, again, we're deluded. Why? Because in anger, we say things we don't mean. We forget about all of our relationships. We forget about all the good things about the person. In the heat of anger, we lose all our sense of judgment. We lose our memory. We lose all our satsang, and we just say whatever it is we want to say. And again, in anger, we are deluded. And again, in jealousy, we are deluded, because that could be such a person who's so dear to me. Maybe your kid's doing better than my kid in school. Again, I'm deluded there. I forget that your kid is like my kid. If your kid's doing really well, I'm happy because your kid is like my kid also. Maybe, my kid might need a little work and it's okay, but I'm happy for you. But that I'm happy for you and your kid is like my kid, it's the same. We forgot that. We're deluded now. We think we're competitors. We think that you're against me and I'm against you. And so with this, we lose everything. We lose everything. So this selfish desire is the ringleader of these 6 gangsters. It makes us lose our mind. And so it says, tyaktva. When we are able to leave this, tyaktva means having left this, pashyati suham, then only we can see the truth. Otherwise, our mind is clouded by this. And it says, these people are fools who don't have the knowledge of the self. Atma jnana vihina mudaha. These are fools who don't have the knowledge of the self because they create a hell for themselves. In Vedanta, hell is not a place that we go to after the body dies. Hell and heaven are both states of mind that we live in here and now. So at any time we can create a heaven in our mind. At any time we can create a hell in our mind. It is all up to us. It's that state which we create for ourselves. So it is said, when we have these emotions such as selfish desire, greed, anger, pride, delusion, jealousy, we are creating that hell in our mind. And we ourselves are tortured by ourselves. We don't have to wait to be tortured. Right here and now, we ourselves are tortured by ourselves. So Gurudev said something so beautiful. He says, you're punished not for your sins, but by your sins. You don't have to wait for it, because there and then our minds get so disturbed. And so those who are able to get through this selfish desire and gain this knowledge. How do you get through this selfish desire? We have to divinize our desires. When we spend more time in satsang, we spend more time in devotion, in karma yoga, and selfless action, in inquiry, in really looking within, in introspection, in study. When we spend more time like this, all those lower desires, they go. We don't have to push them out. We just have to attach ourselves to such high desires, such quality divine desires. And when we do that, these lower desires get pushed out. And when they get pushed out, our minds become purer and able to recognize that self which is already within us, that infinite, unlimited self which is already within us. So who is there to desire and what is there to desire if I am that unlimited self? This is what this verse means, to face these 6 gangsters. This is not easy. This is a whole lifetimes of work, but this verse just brings to our awareness how that desire can really lead to so many things in our lives. Okay. Now, I'll just pause for a moment to see if anyone has any questions before we move to the next. Now, the next verse we're going to see is verse 27. Can you give me now some practical examples of how I can divinize my life? So you're saying I have to face these 6 gangsters, but give me more practical examples. So here in verse 27 is really how to divinize our lives. So it's about divinizing our lives. Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram.
Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram.
Dhyeyam Shripati Rupamajasram.
Deyam Shripati Rupamajasatram.
Dhyeyam Shripati Rupamajasram.
Deyam Shripati Rupamajatram.
Ajasram, Ajasram. Ajasram. Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam.
Niyam Sajjana Sange Chitam.
Deyam Dina Janaya Chavittam.
Deyam Dina Janaya Javitam.
Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. Dhyeyam Shripati Rupamajasram. Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam. Deyam Dina Janaya Chavittam. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Govindam Bhaja Buddhamate. So this verse is about divinize our lives. How to divinize our lives. Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. Geyam. This is to be chanted. What is to be chanted? Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, and Nama Sahasram, the 1,000 names. 1,000 names here means the Vishnu Sahasranama, 1,000 names of Vishnu. We also have Lalita Sahasranama, 1,000 names of Lalita Devi, Shiva Sahasranama, etc. Dhyayam Shripati Rupam Ajasram. Dhyayam is to be meditated upon. What is to be meditated upon? Shripati Rupam, the form of the Lord of Lakshmi. Ajasram, always. Neyam is to be led. What is to be led? The mind is to be led in Sajjana Sange, in the association of the good. Chittam, that mind is to be led in the association of good. Deyam is to be distributed. What is to be distributed? Vittam, wealth. To whom? Dina Janaya, to the needy. So you see here, it's so beautifully, Gayam, Dhyayam, Neyam, Deyam. He's rhymed all four of these words. The Bhagavad Gita and the Sahasranama are to be chanted always. The form of Lord Lakshmi is to be meditated upon. The mind is to be led towards the company of the good, and wealth is to be distributed to the needy. So how do we look at this? So let's look at the first one, Gaya, Gaya, to be chanted. The Gita or Sahasranama or any, this is also any shloka, mantra, any prayer. It says to chant it. Why is there so much emphasis on chanting in our culture? So many times we rush to know the meaning of words. And we rush for also our children to understand the meaning of things. We're eager to tell them, this is what it means. This is what it means. And when we do that, we often forget the effect of the chant itself. The Sanskrit language is a very, very beautiful language because in Sanskritam, every single syllable is a vibration. It's a vibration. And it generates certain vibrations in the body. So even when we chant, the body is being purified by that specific vibration. There's one story, one event that somebody shared with me. This person was having, trouble in his heart. So he was going to have surgery. But he wanted to go on a pilgrimage to Pandharpur. He planned to go on a pilgrimage to Pandharpur. And Pandharpur is a place in Bharat where the Varkari tradition is very evident. And they worship God by the name of Vitthal. Vitthal is the name of Sri Krishna. And so when you go on that pilgrimage in Maharashtra, when you go on that pilgrimage, you say Vitthala, Vitthala, Vitthala. And so he decided he was going to embark in that pilgrimage anyway. And he went to that pilgrimage and he kept saying Vitthala, Vitthala, Vitthala. And when he came back and he went to the doctor said, you know what? You don't need any more surgery. You're completely fine. Well, how was that? That was because the name Vitthal, when you say Vitthal, your whole chest here, Vitthal, your chest and your belly, this whole area, it vibrates in a certain way. And so therefore that very vibration cured him. It just cured him. So these chants, even their sound is purifying. Even their vibration is purifying. And that they take on different areas. They start from the throat. Akuha visarjaniyasya kantaha. So some are from the throat. Then Chuyashanam talu. Some are from the upper palate. Ritulashanam murda. Some are from the burda, the crown of the mouth. So these sounds, they come from different parts of the mouth. And they generate certain things in our body. And so even the Gayatri mantra, even that is extremely powerful. So this is a chant. Not only does it generate these positive vibrations, but chanting brings a rhythm into our life. So let's say whenever we start Bal Vihar, we're doing Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. And when we just keep repeating this chant, it just forms a harmony and it just goes through our mind. So in and out work, in and out doing my chores at home, in my walks, wherever I'm going, whatever I'm doing, the name of God just comes in my head because it's become a harmony. The purpose of the chant is also that it becomes a harmony. It becomes a melody, a rhythm by which I operate in life. So when I learn these chants, they purify my body scientifically, they purify my mind spiritually, and they divinize my being. So even if sometimes we're not able to get the meaning, it's okay. That very word is so sacred. And so it says, Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. Those vibrations that chanting creates are very, very deep and profound. And so when we just keep learning it, keep chanting it, it will create a deep impression in our lives. So mere chanting of the Gita, mere saying the Lord's name, at a later point, when that rhythm is then established, we start to question, what does this mean? What does this mean? And then that chant or meaning unfolds. So we might be chanting now, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. We might not know truly still what it means, but let that chant resonate in the mind, and later on, that meaning will reveal itself. So Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram Dhyayam Shripati Rupam Ajastram. So this is what to do with our speech. Our speech, chant. Chant the name of God, chant mantras, chant shlokas, chant something that divinizes you. With our mind, dhyayam means to contemplate on the form of God or goddess. Whoever's our Ishta Devata. Ishta Devata means that form of God or goddess who's so dear to us. Let the mind just revel in that. Let the mind take the form of that God and goddess. So the best way to practice that is to have a picture by our altar and really, really visualize that form in our minds. And so whenever we close our eyes, we should be able to see that exact form as it is, with everything in it. And this really calms our mind. We cannot think of Hanumanji and want to be violent. We cannot think of Saraswati Mata and want to be lazy. We cannot think of Lakshmi Devi and want to be very, angry. We cannot think of Shiva and want to be so, restless. We cannot. And so these forms of God and Goddess, they've been given to us so that our minds can get purified, calmed down, single pointed, so that that very form can reveal to us their formless self. So dhyayam. And at first, how is that dhyayam, that dhyana? At first, that dhyana will be very interrupted, what we call virala chintana, will be very, very much interrupted. But I have to keep practicing and keep bringing my mind back to it until it becomes one single pointed thought flow. That's called dhyana. Pratyaya ekatanaka. One single pointed thought flow. But is that where we stop? No. We can't stop there. Only when then that single pointed thought flow has to come with a lot of effort. At the next stage, that being single pointed becomes very effortless. Our mind can effortlessly go into that form without any distraction, without any effort. It just goes there. Is that the culmination of dhyana? No. Then the mind becomes one with that form and the mind is pushed to go to the formless. And that's the cultivation of that dhyana. So it's a step-by-step process to take us to the formless using the form. The next one is neyam. Neyam, chitta. The mind is to be led to satsang. Now, the mind is to be led. Why is the mind to be led? Because sometimes we don't want to come to satsang. We want to do something else. The mind wants to do something else. The mind wants to go somewhere else. The mind gets distracted. The mind just does whatever it wants. And it just won't listen. It just won't listen. So neya means make that effort, take that mind and lead it to satsang. That's the only effort that we have to do. Take that mind and bring it to satsang. Because once we get into the company of the wise or the company of truth, everything will be showered upon us. The grace of God will be showered upon us. The truth of our scriptures will be showered upon us. We have to just receive. So the effort that you and I have to make, take the mind, bring it to a place of divinity. Every day, just take the mind and bring it to a place of divinity. Whether it's a divine book, it's a divine lecture, divine music, divine person, our effort must be in that. And we saw this is related to verse number 9, Bhaja Govindam, what that satsang can do. Satsangatve nissangatvam. That satsang gets us attached to the higher and detached from the lower. Nissangatve nirmohatvam. And in that detachment from the lower, we gain clarity. Nirmohatve nishchalatatvam. And in that clarity, we gain conviction. We become steady. Nishchalatatve jivan mukti. And when we are convinced of that truth by our own understanding, then only that liberation while living happens. And therefore, satsang starts from satsang. Then he says here, deyam dina janaya. Deyam is to be given. What is to be given? Vitta, wealth. Now this is very beautiful because we started with speech, to purify speech through chanting, to purify our minds through contemplation, to purify our being by bringing it to satsang. That's our effort. Now to purify our possessions, our relation to our possessions rather, by giving. We tend to be so attached to what we have, all of our possessions, our wealth, our time, our talent, our ability. We tend to hoard that and keep that to ourselves. And this deyam means the chance to give it. In this, we're also kanjus, we're also selfish. There are different layers of giving. First, let's look at the physical layer. From the physical standpoint, how do we give? What can we give? So one is we can give wealth. Very often, we hold on to wealth and, we feel like we need to secure our future. We need to secure our future. Well, I have news for everybody. Even if we hold on to our wealth, that doesn't mean our future is secure. Because anything can happen. Yeah, we can lose anything in any day. Holding on to wealth doesn't mean that my future is secure. Holding on to God means my future is secure. This is what we have to get in our mind. Wealth will come and go. It will come, it will go. Even if we could be the richest people, the next day we could be the poorest person. And this we have seen throughout. It's not just an inference, it's an actual truth. But if we hold on to God, we will always have the wealth of divinity. And that's the most important wealth. So from the physical standpoint, wealth is to be given to those who are deserving of it. Dina janaya, those who are deserving of it. Food, clothing, all of these things to those who are deserving of it from the physical standpoint. From the mental standpoint or emotional standpoint, what can we give? Our time. Sometimes we like to just laze around, be lazy, be a bum, do all kinds of things for our selfish pleasure. Well, there could be someone in our house who needs that time, needs a smile, needs a hug, needs some company. Our elders, our children, spouses. Give that time. Give that time. Give that time to make someone happy instead of fueling my lazy ego, right? That also we can give. And from an emotional standpoint, mental standpoint, we can give our talent. Sometimes we are very capable of doing things, but we don't volunteer. We don't say, yes, I can help, and yes, I can do this. We just say, oh, no, it's okay. Everybody else will do. We have this mentality that everybody else will do it, so why should I do it? Huh? Everybody thinks that anybody can do the job, so nobody does the job, and the job is not done. This is what happens when everybody has that mentality. Then, from an intellectual standpoint, of course, what we can give is knowledge. We can give knowledge, whether it's worldly knowledge or spiritual knowledge. That knowledge can be passed to others because that can help enrich people's lives. And in fact, that is the highest dana in terms of the intellectual dana. Intellectual charity is knowledge, because that knowledge can make people independent. Knowledge can make people happy. Knowledge can help people realize the truth. So that is also a very beautiful thing to give. Then from the spiritual standpoint, what is deyam? What is to be given? What is to be given is prayer. Sometimes maybe we could be in a position that physically we cannot give time, we cannot give money, physically we cannot give money, we cannot give food, we can't give clothing. Emotionally, maybe we're in a position where we cannot give time, we cannot give talent. Intellectually, maybe we're in a position where we cannot give knowledge because we don't have knowledge. What can we give? What can we give? Spiritual level, we can give prayer. That's something you and I can do every day. Some people say, when there's nothing else you can do, just pray. But that's the totally wrong way to look at it. Prayer is actually so incredibly powerful and effective. So even if we feel like we can't do anything in the other levels, sit down, close your eyes, clasp your hands, and pray. Because that prayer, that thought is a vibration. And when all these thoughts form a strong vibration, then things change. They do change. So even from the spiritual standpoint, this can be given. Deyam dina janaya cha vittam. So this is how to divinize our spiritual life. Gayam, chant the Gita, Nam Sahasram. Dhyayam, contemplate on that divine form. Neyam, lead the mind to satsang. And Deyam, give whatever we can give in whatever level we can give. Okay, so today's topic was all about how to face those gangsters, those 6 gangsters, and also how to then cultivate a divine life. So I will say the closing prayer, and then if anyone has questions, we can take that up. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om, everyone. Just pause for a moment.